I'll take a look.
Okay, that's what they all say.
I see.
As soon as possible. So where were you? Hyper West Side. Is that what it's called? I just wanted to take it off.
Okay.
I went there and I did it for years. I'm out of Then there's a steeple.
It was Kugel on the Upper West Side yesterday. What? Correct.
Can I ask a question?
Yeah.
Moving up it.
Special big fan.
At the end of the first page,
The drizzles.
we say that tshuva. He says ve'imcha haslicha, that it's not ve'imcha haslicha, that it's tafel. In other words, asking a
It's not
question
as easy to hear you as it is on the phone.
that he seems to be making the point that mitzad Baal Haratzon is everything's b'shava, and even tshuva is only imcha. But then there's a long arichos on the second page, and we come out. The conclusion is that that tshuva is anoichi, mishu anoichi, and that even down here, it's bringing the atmos. So how does that fit with imcha slicha?
I'll get your question.
Imcha slicha is, the Rabbi says, is tafel. It's not the Baal Haratzon. On the first page, into the first page. And then Rak Bekinas Imcha Tafel Ubatel.
All right, we'll attend to that when we conclude the senior.
Is that what Imcha Slicha meant? He's explaining that properly?
It says there, Kim Slicha, that's only Toffel the bottom.
That what?
And it's Toffel.
What is Tafel?
The Slicha, the Imcha Slicha, is Toffel to Imcha.
Say those words. Where does it say Tafel above?
Last line, first page. Secondary.
You got the text from
Does that
Yeah.
Imcha Slicha, the Tafel above, does that contradict what it said just before that Imcha Mocher Chai? It says just a few verses above.
No, it doesn't. He's asking, we are shooting for pointing out that Shuvah is going straight to the Mitzvah HaMitzvahs.
Right.
But there in the question he said that this is only Ki Imcha, that it's Toffel the bottle to the answer.
Because it's Imacha and the Im.
Imcha means secondary.
So can I ask another question before you get started? If you want to ask any questions? Clarify something that I got asked. On this page that we're on, I remember you spoke about this. Iker HaMitzvah, in other words, even if you have to have Shemayim as a hachana or as a deeper level before the mitzvah, but the Iker of the mitzvah, this is Gili HaMitzvah. It's not Kabbalah Sunnah. Iker HaMitzvah is not Kabbalah Sunnah. Is that true? Is that what that means?
Iker HaMitzvah means the design of the mitzvah itself. Where is the mitzvah coming from? The mitzvah is not coming from the dargah of Kabbalah Soil, that you're mekabel oil machashamayim, from Malchus. It comes from the dargah of Gili Horotz.
And this is a lesser dargah, or we're not comparing them, we're just saying they're different?
Yes, it's a lesser dargah.
A lesser dargah.
Yeah.
The fundament for that, Kabbalah Soil, this is deeper.
Kabbalah's oil. There are two aspects that we have to keep clear. The aspect that comes with Tzad L'Mata, inside the person, and the aspect that comes from the L'Mayla, from Hashem. So we said that mitzvahs, speaking from L'Mayla L'Mata, the way mitzvahs rooted on L'Mayla, where mitzvahs are coming from. Mitzvahs were designed, are coming from the Gili Horotz. Even though every Rotzen is associated with the mitzvah, with the source, but that's Behela. When there's a Rotzen, then there is a mitzvahs. So that's Iker HaMitzvah. What designed the mitzvah? Gili Horotz. Even though that underlying this, in order to fulfill the mitzvah properly, you have to have prior to that Kabbalah Soil Malchus Shomayim. This goes beyond the Gili Horotz. So therefore, there is the element of the Mitzvah HaMitzvah involved during the time that you're doing the mitzvah. But the Iker mitzvah, the design of the mitzvah itself, is from Gili Horotz.
So what was this that you just said about L'Mayla, L'Mayla?
Kabbalah Soil is L'Mata L'Mayla.
So to say that this is the Iker HaMitzvah is not talking about how that's an unrelated thing to Kabbalah Soil.
Right. It's not talking about how you make the mitzvah. The mitzvah, the design of the mitzvah itself, what does it represent? It represents Gili Horotz.
Even though Behelam, it has the
Mitzvah
within it, but this part is not the Iker HaMitzvah. So why was this thing about Kabbalah Soil added over there? If we're talking to Paul about the mile and mile.
That in order that the mitzvah should be that that should be there should be this mitzvah mitzvah behelim. You have to have Kabbalah Soil. I mean, there should you have to have Kabbalah Soil in order to incorporate in your mitzvah the mitzvah mitzvah.
And if there isn't, just let's say somebody is doing a mitzvah, whatever it is, tzedakah, tefillin, whatever, without the Kabbalah Soil element there, but the Gili Harotzin is still there.
Yeah.
The Koyach HaMitzvah is not, but the Gili Harotzin is.
Well, the Koyach HaMitzvah is behelim. In order to fulfill the mitzvah properly, you have to have the mitzvah also be Gili.
So he infused the Gili. So in other words, when you have the Kabbalah Soil, this is the Koyach HaMitzvah the Gili.
So the Makayim HaMitzvah is bringing chayes into the mitzvah. The Makayim HaMitzvah is bringing the chayes into the mitzvah.
To remain on this call, press 1.
Okay, one more thing. Just
No.
he says over here, like many times, the emphasis of panemius hanefesh. It's always elusive when I'm going over it. Like, what's the panemius? Is that which is I know it's that which is not on the surface. I don't know. Again, if there's when you're going over it, maybe to point out, it's that which is above function, that which is not identifiable in any kind of.
The principle of pnimius versus chitzonius is that the chitzonius you can identify cause and effect, where your action is a response to some circumstance. In pnimius, the whole impetus for the action is from the essence itself, not because of some external circumstance. So when something comes from the essence, from the pnimius itself, that means that this is something which is rooted in very essence. Otherwise, where does it come from?
Something is rooted. Can you say that last thing again?
Something is triggered from inside. No, there's no external trigger. That means that it's rooted in the very essence itself. Otherwise, where is it coming from?
There's no external thing that's bringing it.
You can't even explain it logically. There's no logic to it. It's from the essence itself. Well, that's what all right. All right.
Just the Yosem Liboy, the Yosem Liboy of Tshuva, with the Rambam's it's not in his tzaddik, and his hapcha. It's not in his hapcha, in his tzaddik.
Tzaddik, no.
So, no, then. You said that Yosem Liboy, Tshuva. So she's chalet by Amos.
You know what? I keep insist that I should go back a few lines, and so we'll go back a few lines and we'll have a chance to discuss all of these things. And the line what we are starting from begins with Kulhi. Whenever finished talking about Rosh Hashanah.
What page are we on?
Page Beis.
There's a Kuli at the beginning of the line.
Kulhi.
Oh, all the way up there, in the first third of the page?
What?
The first third of the page?
Yeah.
First third?
Third down, third edge of the page.
Is it right with everyone?
Yes.
What's the next? What's the next word do we start the sentence starting with after that?
Ava b'chol Hashanah. So, we said that mitzvahs are primarily designed by the Gilui Horotzah. but the Rotzein as it is begilui. Not the Rotzein as it is in essence, but it is begilui. And therefore, the Baal HaRotzein, the Mitzvah HaMitzvah, is essentially hidden, is in the background. I hope we understand this difference. I will probably have more of a chance to emphasize this again. Okay. And therefore, because the Mitzvah Mitzvah is Behelem, this is why, as a preamble for a mitzvah, you have to have the infant Kabbalah Soil Malchus Shemayim to recognize that there's a mitzvah, to have the mitzvah consciously, in conscious awareness, so we begin. But then we say that this Kabbalah Soil that we have during the mitzvah is not comparable to Kabbalah Soil that we have on Rosh Hashanah. Kabbalah Soil, Malchus Shemayim on Rosh Hashanah is something which actually comes from the very essence, the Pnimius Nafshe. And that is really similar to the Hatshuva. Where Kabbalah Soil, the Rosh Hashanah, Kabbalah Soil from Tshuva is not the union of correcting some misdeed. It is re-establishing a connection etzem to etzem. Avo b'chol hashana. But b'chol hashana, throughout the year, it's different. Gam b'hakavono the mitzvos. Even by the kavanah of the mitzvah, as it has to do with the mitzvah, it is not in a pnimius manner kol kach to such an extent. What is the pshat over here? The kavanas are mitzvah, and he explains like this: because throughout the year itself, we have also different levels of Kabbalah Soil. The lowest, so to speak, level of Kabbalah Soil Malchus Shemayim is when one has Kabbalah Soil Malchus Shemayim throughout the day, not when he's doing a mitzvah. There also has to be Kabbalah Soil Malchus Shemayim. The Kabbalah Soil Malchus Shemayim, the Chol Hayoim, the Kabbalah Soil Malchus Shemayim throughout the day, Harei Ze Behelem Keneda. There, the Kabbalah Soil itself is Behelem. There is definitely a Kabbalah Soil, but it is Behelem. He's not conscious of it. He's involved in Kol Ma'asech. He's involved in worldly affairs, and he's not conscious of the Kabbalah Soil Malchus Shemayim. So to put it in a tangible way, to conduct your business honestly is an obligatory thing mitzad the godly presence. And even when a person is conducting his business honestly, he is not consciously thinking of Kabbalah Soil Malchus Shemayim. Yeah.
So why don't we apply the same concept to Gilu Haratzon? In other words, mitzad the gaver, mitzad the person there without the Kabbalah's O, they're not conscious of the Baal Haratzon. But by the Eibishter, you say Gilu Haratzon, within the Gilui, of course there's dimension. In other words, if I have a will for something, that Gilui reflects upon me. So within the Gilui you do have the Etzem, even before the Kabbalah told me. It's not the Gavra, No, until you're conscious of this, but also by the Eibishter, even Gila Ratzon is you do have the Etzem. Because before you answer questions, if they're two separate things. That until you have the Gila, until you have the Glos Machal Shemayim, you don't tap into the Etzem. But l'chara, even without the Kabbalah, so inherently within the Gila Haratzon, there is the Etzem, there is the Mensch, there is the Eibishter. But we, as Gavra, we're not conscious of it.
Yeah. This is what I was hoping, Bill. The thing is like this. In every Rotzen there is the Baal Rotzen. Midas are also actually the power behind Midas is Rotzen. But when we speak over here, that this is we correlate different levels to the higher level and so forth. We mean a direct relationship. We mean a direct source. We can identify the lower level within the upper level. Like we spoke. This is one thing that we discussed quite extensively. From Malak Olam and Mesogel Kolam. Dover B'tech Dover. And so the Mamale can be identified within the Sefer, even though this is much higher. But it cannot be identified in Etzem. Everything comes from the Etzem. But you cannot identify, you cannot find it in the Etzem. In the Sefer we can find it. This is the pshat that mitzvahs is from Gili Horotz.
From the perspective of the Tachton.
I don't know if I should go into this. What?
No, so you say from the perspective of the Tachton.
No, the Milo.
Milo too.
Yeah.
Oh.
The Milo too. This is how it's rooted.
Oh, it's made in such a way. Okay, good. Okay.
We spoke then that this is why there's a union of oynish. And oynish, a punishment commensurate to the transgression, and different oynishim for different transgressions. If the mitzvah ha-mitzvah, there is no difference. Then the world couldn't exist for 1 second. So it is actually rooted in a lower level, in Gili Horotz. And this is why there is in from Slicha Tshuva that you go beyond the Gili Horotz, you go to the Etzem Horotz, you go to the Baal Horotz, and then you can clear everything off.
Good, it's understood.
Yeah, okay, good.
Yeah.
Okay. So B'chol Hashon throughout the year, even the Kabbalah the mitzvahs, even in the Kabbalah sale as it is related to mitzvahs, it's also not pnimis to such an extent. Kol kach. And he explains what he means by gam. The Kabbalah say Malchus Shemaim Dechol Hayoim, because that Kabbalah say which persists throughout the day, Harei Ze Behelem Kenei. Throughout the day, Kabbalah say is Behelem. As I've been trying to explain, that a person conducts his normal affairs, and Masech L'Shem Shemayim, Masech L'Shem Shemayim is already more conscious. Is not that conscious. He's just simply acting according to certain appropriate manners.
There's an awareness.
What?
But there is an awareness.
The awareness is in the background. He is not consciously aware of Hashem's presence when he's conducting his business honestly. He knows he has to conduct his business honestly. So the Kabbalah sale to call Hayoim is totally Behelem. Behelem Kenei. It is there, so that when a person acts and say conduct his business honestly, we will not say that this is merely a worldly habit, and it is just because of personal honesty. No, there is an in from Kabbalah say, but it is behelem.
We're talking here about the Yehud Klal is involved in term mitzvahs, because otherwise it could be exactly what you just said.
Yes, that's true. I would comment on this, but gam Kabbalah say Malchus Shamayim, but even the Kabbalah say Malchus Shamayim shetzorich liyos koidem kol mitzvah, which is required before every mitzvah. There you have to know that you're doing a mitzvah. You're not just acting within a worldly context. You're doing a mitzvah. So the key is koidem kol mitzvah. Commissioner Kosov Shevishal Ben Nimshom, as it says in Tanya. Even there, Harei Ze Behelem Eina Bebechinas Pnimius K'mei Berosh Hashanah. The Kabbalah says Koidem Kol Mitzvah is also not in a pnimius manner K'mei Berosh Hashanah as it is in Rosh Hashanah. In other words, a person gives tzedakah. If he puts on tefillin, clearly he's doing something that has no worldly definition. But if he gives tzedakah, it does have a worldly definition. But before he's doing the mitzvah, he has to have consciously the infant Kabbalah say. Remember that this is a mitzvah. So even there, even though he remembers that this is a mitzvah, he remembers that this is a mitzvah, not that there is a mitzvah ha-mitzvah behind the mitzvah.
It's not consciously related.
It's not there, that's right, it's not there. Even though clearly in the background there is. But this is not what he is actually involved with.
Using the words in the background, this is like he says earlier on the page, Behelem.
Yeah, it's Behelem. That's right. So it's a Kabbalah sale Malchus Shamayim. Let's translate the words. There's two terms, Kabbalah sale mitzvahs, Kabbalah sale Malchus. Kabbalah sale Malchus Shamayim means that you recognize that there is a king, and you're accepting the king's rulership. Let's speak about this for a moment. Kabbalah say Malchus Shamayim, again, the emphasis is on the word a king, not a ruler. A ruler, you do not obey a ruler because of himself. They're ruler because you are living like we live in a country and you have to follow the laws. There are consequences if you don't. And it's appropriate to follow the laws.
David.
But this is Kabbalah says Malchus Shamayim, the union of Malchus.
You're on. Hello? You're on. You'll hear us.
Just mute your phone.
Yeah, the share's going on. Just mute your phone and you're on speakerphone here. You'll hear everything. Okay.
The principle of Malchus, might as well, every time you go back, you have to enrich a little bit. The principle of Malchus is quite different than the principle of rulership.
What's the word that we would use in Lashon HaKodesh for rulership?
Moshel.
Moshel.
Malchus does not merely define a mode of action. Malchus encompasses the entire reality of this melucha. And the inspiration in this melucha is focus is due to the presence of the Melech. This is what Malchus. So when you say Kabbalah say Malchus, is to be distinguished from Kabbalah say mitzvahs. I better do this because that's the right thing to do. That's a different thing. Kabbalah say Malchus means I am within, as we say, I'm within a context, within a domain. I belong to this Melech. This is how can we distinguish between Kabbalah say Malchus and the mitzvah.
I can't hear anything. Is there any way to move the phone closer?
You don't hear? Do you hear me?
Maybe I'll call.
Do you hear me now?
Tell him I'll call back.
Okay, Rabbi's calling into the
I'll
conference
call the
room.
conference.
So if you call into that room.
He's going to the conference? Okay, I'll call the conference.
All right,
Okay.
call the conference. Not much time left.
Welcome to the
Golan Ben-Oni's.
conference room. At the tone, please record your name, followed by the pound key.
I'm a Paltiel.
Thank you. You are now in. You are participant number 1.
So Kabbalah say Malchus is the pshat that you recognize the presence of the Melech, not that you have to be obedient. It's a completely different concept. This is why we distinguish in that and doing the mitzvah. Because doing the mitzvah is a separate thing. It's not that he told me to do this and I'm doing it. No. That's not Kabbalah saying Malchus. Malchus means I recognize that there is a Melech. And the reason that there is such thing as mitzvahs altogether is not so that I behave properly, so that things run properly, but because there's a Melech. That's why there is mitzvahs. Let's put this in perspective. It's late anyway, might as well just get this finished. We always say, in your home, things have a certain order. There's a dining room and a living room, and there's a kitchen and whatever it is. And everything has its particular place. The dining room table stands at the dining room table in a place. And the chairs stay wherever they stand. That is not in order to facilitate you sitting by the table. It is simply defining that this is a home where a human being lives. You may be sitting at the table once a week, if that much. But this is the way it is. Because when you come into the home, you see this is a lived-in home. This is the principle of Kabbalah saying Malchus. There is a reality here. This is not a half-key place.
So how can you possibly do the mitzvah without that?
You're obligated to do it, otherwise you're going to get punished. What are you doing? Why are you stopping a red light? Because Kabbalah sale of Obama?
Now we know about it.
So it's possible to do mitzvahs in a way that relates to a Moshe.
Somebody was driving the Rebbe one time, and he was very careful. He's driving the Rebbe. He was careful to stop at every red light properly. So the Rebbe said to him, if you were keeping the Shulchan Aruch the same diligent as you keep the red light, you would be a Rebbe. Yeah. Okay, so we understand the concept. Kabbalah say Malchus Shamayim, and this is why they are two separate inyanim. Of Kabbalah, Malchus Shamayim. You can do a mitzvah without Kabbalah say Malchus Shamayim, but that's not the proper. The proper thing is that you have to have the when you do a mitzvah, you have to consciously recognize that there's a Malchus Shamayim and you Kabbalah Malchus Shamayim. Not specific to the mitzvah. But this is the reality. So we're saying that this Kabbalah say Kol Hayoim, there's Kabbalah say Kol Hayoim also, but then that's V'Hela. But even Kabbalah says so, if this became Kol Mitzvah, from Shkos V'Sefer Shol Beinim. It's not bebchinas pnimis like on Rosh Hashanah. Why does it need to be distinguished? Of course it's not. You're doing a mitzvah, you have a specific thing, and that's what we explain. It's not specific to the mitzvah. And it does not need, it's not needed in order to do the mitzvah. I know I have to do this, I have to do this. So therefore Kabbalah says Malchus Shamayim even throughout the year, when he has to do and before the mitzvah, that Kabbalah that is required to be aware that this Kabbalah says Malchus Shamayim is similar to the Kabbalah says Malchus Shamayim on Rosh Hashanah. It's not a direct cause and effect for the mitzvah.
This doesn't mean it's not as much for his galus, or it does.
What? אין בפנימיס כל כך?
Yeah.
אין בפנימיס כל כך. אין בפנימיס כל כך. Okay, so we identified pnimis before. Now pnimis means something that is initiated from the essence. There is no secondary cause for it. That's Kabbalah saying Malchus Shamayim Rosh Hashanah. Throughout the year there is a similar inyan because the Kabbalah saying is not a direct correlationship to do the mitzvah. So there's also something which is initiated from inside. But Ayin Mepnimi is kol kach. Because nevertheless, why all of a sudden he begins to think about the Kabbalah saying? Because he has to do a mitzvah.
Is what?
So there is a little cause and effect there.
It's not so totally all-encompassing the self, the essence. There's a certain functional purpose in it.
External factor.
Ein Pnimi is kol kach.
My question was about the Gili. As we said in the whole day, he has Kabbalah Sa'il. But it's not Begilu, right? By a mitzvah, it's Begilu.
But even though it's Begilu, it's not B'Pnimi, it's Kol Kach, like in Rosh Hashanah.
Right. So Begilu and Pnimi are two different things.
Oh yeah.
On Rosh Hashanah, we don't say also that there's a little bit of the whole reason why you're being makabel the melech is because it's Rosh Hashanah. Rosh Hashanah.
And what's Rosh Hashanah? There is no function aspect. It's Kabbalah Semach Shon. It's coronation of the king. That's all it is. Huh? Sorry? No. What's shofar? That's what he said. That's what we're talking about. Shofar is mitzvah of tshuva.
Shofar is not a mitzvah that relates to Gili Ratza.
Right.
So it has to be approached, not as you would approach a normal mitzvah.
I'm sorry?
So Sofer is not approached as you would approach a normal mitzvah.
Right. Shofar is representative the union for mitzvah hatshuva, just like mitzvah hatshuva. We're saying is not rooted in the same way as kol mitzvahs in Gili Harotz. Let's put this in perspective. You have to stop. Let's put this in perspective. The Rebbe gave us mitzvahs, and he said, you know, I'm with you as long as you keep the mitzvahs. And you fail to do the mitzvahs, then you're losing me. Then the Rebbe said, I can't allow, I can't suffer such a thing.
We can't stand that we should lose it.
I can't tolerate such a thing. Oh, well, these little people, who knows? They are liable to lose it. And I can't allow this. I have to create something that would be able to restore this. So that clearly is a different thing than mitzvahs. It goes straight directly to the essential point.
Yeah.
I'm not. Let's get to the whole point. All right. So since it's like a sort of a Tevet, and a Tainis is the principle for Tainis is tshuva. So hopefully we have a little better sense of what this is all about. All right, so I have to interrupt. All right, so we convene the mitzvah tomorrow. Have a good day.
By definition, that's the mitzvah.
Could be. I made a note of when it was. I'll tell you.
Very deep.
No.